Hello everybody, this is Gregory with How I Lost Over 100 Pounds and have kept it off for 30 plus years, where there should be no hesitation in your weight loss and maintenance. Today we're going to talk about Billy Gardell, who was the actor in Mike and Molly, the CBS sitcom with Melissa McCarthy. He was Mike. Now he recently lost 150 pounds and some of the reflections that he made about it and how I think it's really refreshing. Now, before we begin, if you need help with weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also, check out my website, which has hundreds of articles and recipes. My 2 books, which you can find on Amazon. If you like podcasts, I have The Awakened Man and The Cinema Rag, which are on Apple and Spotify, the former being very health related. And lastly, if you appreciate my content, there is a link for PayPal. So Billy Gardell was a morbidly overweight actor. You know, in Hollywood loves the fat male actors, right? They make you funny, then you can stay fat. And he recently lost 150 pounds, and he's been interviewed as to why he decided to finally do it. And I think it's refreshing, his honesty, because it kind of goes against the body positive movement. And we have a few episodes here on why I cannot stand the body positive movement, because the body positive movement is essentially telling you it's okay to stay fat, it's okay to get even fatter, when we know every objective indicator tells us that shortens your life expectancy. So how are you helping that person by telling them to stay overweight? We wouldn't tell a heroin addict to keep doing that vice if it shortens your life expectancy. So you'll see a lot of the body positive people like Lizzo, the singer, and others will be like, I'm fat and now I'm proud, But we know that what all the studies tell you as well, 50% of people rather give up a year of their life than be fat. 20% of people rather lose a limb or have a special education kid than rather be fat. So they can say all they want, people are overweight. We have an episode here on Sam Smith, the singer, saying the same thing. But deep down, they want to lose their weight. And Billy Gardell, I think, is great because he's honest. He's honest. So he says, quote, I think you got to find peace with yourself and at some point look in the mirror and go, it's probably time to take care of you. I didn't get that note early on, so I'm a big believer that when you get it, you get it. It doesn't matter when, as long as you get it. And so it's great to hear him be like, yeah, I was really overweight and I wasn't happy. Now, was he saying that 10 years ago when he was on Mike and Molly? Probably not, right? Probably he was in such steep cognitive dissonance that he probably was like, yeah, it's great. I have a career because of this, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But at least he reached a point, and I've talked about it at Confessions of an Obese Child, the last episodes, episode 1920, like what finally pushed me when I was 17, 18 to finally lose the weight, because my parents had been taking me to dietitians, to Overeaters Anonymous, to Weight Watchers, to Jenny Craig, all these things. And I just, I was sick, still binge eating. I loved the food more than I loved myself. So what made him do it? He says it's because his knees hurt, his blood levels were really bad, like his triglyceride levels were really bad, and that's what really pushed it. We don't know the real thing that pushed it. He's been married for 20 years, he has a kid, but maybe he just liked the idea of, I like to be able to buy clothes that I can actually go to a store, not go into a big and tall store. I guess now big and tall stores don't exist. I have an episode here of my experiences as a teenager going to big and tall stores, but I think Amazon now sells all these things. But we don't know what it was. Maybe he just realized, hey, and he mentions in the article, and I'll see if I can put a link in the episode notes for it, how he wanted to be around for his child. He wants to see his child have kids and so forth. And he knows when you're fat, it shortens your life expectancy. And so kudos to him for this. Now, he had type 2 diabetes, which is very common for obesity. It's part of that metabolic syndrome. So if you're obese, you typically get type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol and hypertension, and high blood pressure. And he says, I didn't want these things. So he does gastric bypass. I mean, that's how you're going to lose weight fast. And look, we have an episode here, should you do gastric bypass? I'm not going to kind of like repeat everything in there. Ultimately, just understand what you're signing up for, because typically you will lose weight, but typically there are going to be long-term changes in your diet, the amount of food that you can eat, in your lifestyle. And I've mentioned there before, like you do have to get psychiatric evals prior to getting one of these done, because there is a higher rate of suicidal ideation when you go down this road. But understand, if you have a lot of weight you need to lose like he did, he was at least 150 pounds overweight, doing fasting and eating well and changing your behavior, changing your paradigm, probably at that point won't be enough. So just understand, it's better to do the bypass, and there's different types of bypasses that they have out there, but it's probably to do that better in the long run, because he realized, like a lot of people, when you're overweight, you typically just get more overweight. And he reached a point, maybe it was his wife, maybe it was his kid who told him, maybe he just realized that, I'm getting older because he's in his 50s now. It's like, I just need to do it. So he had the bypass, he finally done it, and now he's lost the weight. And now he's dealing with a lot of the post-weight loss stuff, where overweight people are like, who cares, what you're going through. It's kind of like when you're regular weighted and you have a friend who's like 60 pounds overweight, and you're like, God, I've gained weight, I've gained 10 pounds. And your friend's like, you're regular weight, like I'm supposed to have sympathy for you? So it's kind of the same thing. But now he's dealing with the loose skin. He's dealing with a lot of things I talk about in the Reflections of a Weight Loss Warrior playlist here. Like, when you lose the weight, you still feel like you're a fat person, even though you have more of a normal body. And there's certainly a transition that has to happen, because you have to get used to the loose skin. Like, I still have this stuff, the stretch marks. I have my bloopy, which I've talked about for 30 years. That's not going to go away. So you're dealing with these transitions, and the transitions can take a long time. And how do you deal with it? And I interview people at Confessions of an Obese Child, the podcast, which is on Apple and Spotify. I've interviewed people there throughout the years who've lost a lot of weight. Like, how do you cope with it? Because it is a weird adjustment. But either way, with Billy Gardell, kudos to him for losing the weight, and kudos to him for even he who cares? Like, he doesn't care if he offends the body positive movement, because what he's saying is like, you reach a point where you have to lose weight. The body positive movement would be shaming him. And he's talked about how he's gotten fit shamed for losing the weight. Just like Adele and Rebel Wilson have been fit shamed for losing the weight. And you think, why would people fit shame people for wanting to be healthier? Well, obviously, it's like you are breaking from the prison. They don't want you to break free the prison because they're in the prison. So who's fit shaming? It's overweight people who are mad at themselves. And anytime that you have any level of success, and you see this not just with weight loss, but with like a promotion in your job or whatever it is, people who are not successful will see it as a light being cast on them that they're a failure. So if you're losing 150 pounds like Billy Gardell did, and your other fat friends aren't, then you start getting, oh, you think you're better than us? And you'll start getting a lot of this kind of rhetoric and retort, because deep down they're mad. And deep down, and we have an episode on this, yes, a lot of people in your life, if you've lost the weight, want you to regain it. And I know it's exceedingly uncharitable, but sadly that is human nature in a lot of ways. And these are, of course, people that you need to get out of your life. But either way, Billy Gardell, kudos to you. I hope you can keep it off, because we know the statistic is that statistically, even though you have a smaller stomach and you can't eat as much food, you're probably going to gain it back. So I pray that you will do the deep work to connect, or unconnect, I should say, emotion to food, and do the real deep work why you have a disordered relationship with food in the first place. Because we can make your stomach smaller, and there's a lot of ways you can get around that people have had bypass to get around it so they can binge eat again. You can do all these little things that kind of serve as an impediment to your binge eating, but ultimately you got to get to the source and stop binge eating, and hopefully he can do that. Guys, post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care. God bless and pray.